So I was able to beat New Game Plus 7 on all 3 wizard subclasses recently, and I just wanted to make a quick video to showcase the builds, while also going over what I found to work best on wizard in general. To start off with, between these 3 subclasses, I think when trying to beat the game for the first time, or on lower New Game Plus levels, you can't go wrong with either Conjuration or Evocation. For Conjuration, the Hydras will end up killing most of the enemies for you, as well as deleting most bosses, and Evocation will have a similar situation with its Meteor Shower. Transmutation at this point suffers from extreme mana issues, so while you can make it work by spamming potions, the other 2 subclasses just work a lot smoother. Once you start reaching around New Game Plus 3 and higher, I think Evocation Wizard is the best choice due to its passive reducing mana costs and Meteor Shower scaling incredibly well. With its additional stats per character level, Transmutation starts getting strong enough to where it becomes pretty strong in pushing New Game Plus levels as well, but its main source of mana regen will still be using potions, which is why I prefer Evocation still, but you can't really go wrong with either. Conjuration Wizard unfortunately falls into a situation where while its Hydras still deal decent damage against bosses, its targeting is not the greatest, and most enemies will walk past barely getting hit if you aren't placing it in a good position. I often ended up facing mana issues while spamming magic missiles and resummoning the Hydras. Starting off with the actual builds, we have Evocation Wizard. For its point priority, I recommend putting 1 or 2 points into Magic Missile and Meteor Shower just to keep the mana cost low. Then I would go ahead and work on maxing out Arcane Intellect, Incanter's Cadence, and Barrier. I don't put any points into Fireball, because while it's a decent skill, a single Magic Missile does more damage than Fireball, so I'd rather prioritize getting upgrades for Magic Missile and just not have Fireball in the skill pool at all. Once all of those are maxed out, I would upgrade Meteor Shower and Magic Missile to the max, but if you find that you are running into mana issues, consider leaving them a few points off of max just to save on mana. For the skill orb upgrades, I always start the run with Rebounding Missiles, and then prioritize getting the Missile Barrage, Savant, Burning Ground, and Rising Crescendo upgrades. In terms of why Burning Ground over the Ice version of Meteor Shower, while the initial impact will do similar damage, the Burning Ground ticks from the fire pools actually do a lot of damage while the Ice version doesn't have any additional damage beyond the initial impacts. Now gear rise, I recommend getting a powerful Dirk with a vulnerability suffix, which I use to apply on Avatar in order to do 20% additional damage to him. As for offhand, I like going for Tome just to get more spell power and spell crit rate, but if you feel you have enough damage and just want to go for more survivability, a shield is good as well. Just keep in mind that you will be forced to put stats into strength in order to equip them. For the remaining enchants, for prefixes I recommend intelligence over spell power, and then beyond that just flat HP. I recommend intelligence over spell power, since wizard intelligence gives spell power, spell crit rate, and spell crit damage, which ends up providing more damage compared to just going for spell power. For suffixes, I like cooldown reduction, and then cast speed, followed by the rest listed here. For the attribute themselves, I basically put enough into focus so I can equip the cape, and then go full into intelligence. I don't put any into vitality since I went for flat HP on my chest piece instead, which seems to be enough to survive so far, as I haven't really come close to being one shot. For food, I default to the undead damage bread. For drinks, I recommend the cooldown reduction, crit rate, and then the 20% damage drink. In terms of playstyle during the run, I like to cast Meteor Shower first, then Magic Missile and back off. The enemies will come towards me, and since I cast Meteor first, it should be landing by the time they start moving towards me. With enough points into Burning Ground, most enemies will die before they even come close to you. For bosses, it's just cast Meteor on top of the boss, and then spam Magic Missile until Meteor is back off cooldown. Now on to Transmutation Wizard. For its skill point priority, I recommend putting 1 or 2 points into Magic Missile and Haste, and then max out Arcane Intellect, Enhanced Physique, and Barrier. I once again don't put any points into Fireball. Once all those 3 are maxed out, I would upgrade Haste to the max, but I would only upgrade Magic Missile once you get some mana regeneration trinkets attuned. For these skill orb upgrades, I once again start the run with Rebounding Missiles, and then prioritize getting the Missile Barrage, Savant, Enhanced Strength or Dex, unfortunately you can only have one, and then finishing off with Rebounding Missiles. For survivability, the Evasion one for Haste is pretty good as well. Gear-wise, I once again recommend getting a powerful dirk with the vulnerability suffix. For offhand, I go tome, but since you get strength for free per level, equipping a shield becomes a lot more viable. For enchants for prefixes, I once again recommend intelligence over spell power, and then flat HP. For suffixes, I think the highest priority is going to be mana cost, since it ends up helping with transmutations issues with mana, so that's why I rank it highest. For attributes, I just put enough into focus for the kip requirement and then full intelligence. For food, I once again default to the undead damage bread. For drinks, I recommend cooldown reduction, crit rate, and then either the 20% damage drink, and if you're confident in not getting hit ever, then the mana regen drink at full HP is pretty good as well. In terms of playstyle during the run, it's just cast haste and spam magic missile, and then once you're out of mana you potion, and then repeat. Finally, we have Conjuration Wizard. For its skill point priority, I recommend putting 1 or 2 points into Magic Missile and the Sword, then max out Arcane Intellect, Hydra, and Barrier. Surprise, surprise, I once again don't put any points into Fireball, but hopefully one day after some tuning, Fireball will become better. Once all those 3 are maxed out, I would upgrade Magic Missile. If you're running into mana issues, consider not maxing it out. Honestly, while the Sword does do decent damage, its targeting is terrible, and it doesn't seem to go very far from your character, so it's pretty useless overall. Max it if you like for more boss damage, but also consider just using the points instead to attune to more trinkets. For these skill orb upgrades, I once again start the run with rebounding missiles, and then prioritize getting the Missile Barrage, Savant, Greater Hydra, and Rebounding Missile. So for Ice versus Fire Hydra, I found that while clearing enemies while fire does more damage per hit, the slow/freeze from ice keeps it in range longer, so it ends up getting hit by the hydras more. For bosses though, fire would be better since it just does more damage, so honestly I think the choice is just up to preference. The sword is so useless it doesn't matter if it's fire or ice, I just pick whichever appears first to remove the other from the orb pool. Now gear wise, I once again recommend getting a powerful dirk with the vulnerability suffix. For offhand, I honestly think you should just go tome, because Conjuration is the subclass that struggles the most with damage, so spell power helps out a lot. For prefixes, I once again recommend intelligence over spell power, and then flat HP. For suffixes, again I think mana cost is going to become the most important, as your attacks become very weak as you go up New Game Plus levels, forcing you to spam and then run out of mana very often. For attributes, I once again just put enough points into focus for the creep requirement, and then went full intelligence. For food, I once again used the undead damage bread, and then drinks, cooldown reduction, spell crit rate, and then 20% damage drink. In terms of playstyle for Conjuration, I tend to play around corners a lot, try to place the hydras in a way where it can hit a lot of the enemies at once, since its targeting kinda goes haywire if it's surrounded by enemies. Now that's all I have in terms of the video today, but I also did want to include the footage of beating Avatar on New Game Plus 7 for all 3 subclasses, just so you guys can see it in action. Thank you all for watching, and please let me know in the comments if you prefer this or would rather if I just posted the full runs instead. I still do have the full footage for all 3 wizard runs, so let me know if you guys want to see that as well, and I can upload it. Anyways, once again, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.